Britain today feels increasingly divided, not just by politics, but by perception. Arguments that used to lay in foreign policy circles now are open for everyone to hear. Arguments about Israel, about anti-Semitism, about Russia, about China, and about what counts as truth in the age of technology. In the Trump era, where in online spaces outrage has become entertainment, have fused with Britain's own anxieties about extremism, and this has caused a violent blend of culture war, mistrust, and geopolitical paranoia. You could see it all play out in late September. In Manchester, where worshippers at a synagogue were stabbed, police were called, calling it a hate crime. And then later, in East Sussex, where a mosque was set ablaze, online communities said that comments online were fueling these anti-Semitic or anti-Muslim actions. Over in Europe, far-right parties have been gaining strength. From Germany's AfD, Italy's Brothers of Italy, and Hungary's Fidesz. These parties, fueled by economic stagnation, migration, and their rage on social media, have grown more popular. In the UK, we've seen anti-immigration rallies where Trump banners alongside Union Jacks have become commonplace. And in a sense, we can see that American populism has stepped over the ocean to become integrated with British and European politics. All of this feeds into the bigger question, one about how Britain handles dissent, and where is this line between protecting national security and protecting public opinion. The veteran MP, and now leader of the Workers' Party of Britain, has spent decades swimming against the tide of mainstream politics. He's one of the few public figures in the UK who openly defends Russia and China, and he still today is a monument for free speech in the UK. When Galloway returned from Moscow at the end of September, that tradition seemed to hit a brick wall. He and his wife were stopped by counter-terrorism police at Gatwick Airport and questioned for hours as to where he had been. This law, Schedule 3 of the Counter-Terrorism and Border Act, allows officers to stop anybody, any port or any airport, search their belongings, seize their laptops and any mobile device, and refusal to cooperate is in itself a crime. He was due to speak at an event attended by the Chinese ambassador to the UK. However, by the time he was released, this event had already finished. Now, the police said that this was a regular operation. However, his detainment raised some uncomfortable questions. Galloway's views are undeniably provocative. He's praised China's model and he's defended Russia's foreign policy. But whether you agree with him or not, his case raises a deeper question. Two strong opinions become grounds for suspicion. And in this, he's not alone. Since the Southport stabbings last year, where influencers online blamed a Muslim asylum seeker, this incident triggered riots. The government since then has tightened laws around misinformation and online incitement. Ministers argue that it's about safety, however critics say that it's more about containment. Because when those same powers are used to detain political figures, restrict protests, or ban controversial speakers, this message becomes confusing. Is this about keeping people safe, or is it about keeping them quiet? Even figures on the opposite side of the spectrum are being targeted, like Tommy Robinson, a far-right political activist in the UK. As I speak, he's planning a trip to Israel, backed by groups who are sympathetic to his cause, trying to tie Britain's own domestic political situation to a more global narrative of Western populism. Now, his rhetoric is extreme, but his argument that government policies police some forms of speech and not others resonates with a growing slice of his audience. So now you have this strange symmetry. Galloway on the left and then Robinson on the right, both claiming to be silenced, both arguing that Britain no longer tolerates dissent, and when extremes start to sound alike, you start to realize that something's gone wrong in the middle. In the United States, pro-Palestine student protesters have faced police attention. In Europe, journalists investigating the far right have been targeted as foreign agents. Everywhere, democracies are struggling to define the line between public expression and public order. Britain today stands at a crossroads. The UK, a country once proud of its open debates, feels now paralysed by outrage. where the left and the right mirror each other's paranoia, and where the word security increasingly has become substituted for silence. The result is a country where ideological boundaries blur, and hostile activity can mean anything from an act of terrorism to an unpopular opinion. If Galloway can be detained for his associations of China and Russia, if students can be disciplined for criticizing Israel, then where are the same actions from mainstream politicians when they're tied to governments committing genocide or breaking international law? It begs the question.